Hello everyone, Johnny here. Today in this session, we will try to start with CSS. So far, we have learned about HTML. HTML is mainly used to represent the structure of your web page. If I want to represent a structure for your web page, we can use HTML. If I want to give some presentation, if I want to have some presentation for your web page, we can use CSS. Suppose if I want to have some behavior for your web page, then we can go with JavaScript. So CSS is mainly used. Let us see, like CSS stands for cascading style sheets. CSS stands for cascading style sheets. The present version of CSS is CSS 3. Like if I see, if you can see this example, you can understand. Like this is an HTML part. If I am trying to apply some colors, some properties for it, we can make it into the presentation. Like the appearance would be done using this CSS. For example, if I consider some information on the web page, the content is represented using the HTML document, whereas the appearance is represented using CSS document. This HTML document will be linked to CSS using a link tag. Upon linking with the CSS, it will try to display in the browser. Whatever the content of the web page will go into the HTML file, whereas the appearance will be represented using the CSS. If we can consider how the browser will display, like HTML content, style sheet and the JavaScript, it will be combined together to form something called DOM. DOM stands for Document Object Model. It is nothing but the code which we have written in the HTML part. It will try to represent in the form of DOM, that is Document Object Model. It will combine together to form some user interactive experience, like it will try to give some user interface on the web page. So first it will try to load the HTML part, parses HTML, create a DOM tree, and it will try to display. Or else if the HTML file has some CSS, it will try to load, it will try to parse, and it will try to create a DOM, and it will try to display on the browser. So let us see how we can use the CSS. So this is how the intro of this CSS part. Now let me write for the basic example. Like let me write a basic example. First one, let me write same basic example of the CSS. See, for suppose, as we have discussed, first one we call it as a tag. We call it as a tag. If a tag has some info, we call it as an element. So in this we have hello. So let me open this in the browser. If you can see here, hello is displayed. Hello is displayed. For suppose, if I want to have some appearance, like if I want to apply some properties, very first way in CSS is inline CSS. We call it as inline CSS. Next one is internal CSS. Next one is external CSS. So these are the three types of CSS we have. So for the same above tag, I will try to apply inline, internal and external. So first one, let me write hello Johnny. I have written something like this, hello Johnny. Inline CSS can be applied beside the tag itself. For example, I have written style is equals to color :red. So when I'm trying to write like this, if you can see the browser, like if you can see here, you got hello Johnny here. So if I can align here itself, so it will be easy for us. So first one is hello Johnny. So it is trying to display the output. First one, hello Johnny. We call this one as inline CSS. First one. For example, if I want to represent the CSS in the page itself, like for example, I have some tag like this. And I have hello team. I have some hello team here. I want to apply some CSS for this. Let me use the second one, that is internal CSS. In internal CSS, we write style tag open followed by style tag close. Style tag open and style tag close. In this, we need to select an element. What is the element we have here? What is the tag we have here? P. P, open curly braces, close curly braces, color. I want to keep some yellow. Example, I'm trying to use in this way, but whenever we should use these color notations, we should always prefer hexadecimal values. For example, if you browse in the HTML browser also, like HTML example. So if I have some color, for suppose I want to get this yellow color, so you should always use this hexadecimal. In the real time, we will always prefer to use this. Just you can copy here, so we will get the same output. You got hello here. So if you can see here, P tag has been selected, so the color yellow has been applied for the two elements. We call it as inline CSS, internal CSS. First one is inline CSS, next one is internal CSS. Internal CSS can be represented using style tag open and style tag close. We will use something called P here. P indicates a selector name. What type of selector is it? We call it as a tag or element selector. In the sense, we have directly written the name of this, so we call it as tag or element selector. So how we can write a syntax here? We can say the syntax as tag. I'm just trying to write a representation of it. Property and a value. Property and a value. So whatever the element you write, we just need to write the property and you just need to write the value here. So this is how we can write with internal CSS. First one is inline CSS, next one is internal CSS. For suppose I have the same tag. I want to represent the information. I just want to have some info like this. I just want to give some other color for it. So let me take other tag. For example, if I write the same tag, it will try to collide. In the sense, it will coincide. The property which we are trying to write, it will try to collide. So whenever we are trying to write the external CSS, I'm trying to take a new file. I'm trying to save it. I'm just always make sure that you will create a separate folder called CSS. How we used to do for images and videos. In the same way, create a separate folder for CSS and have named some file called style.css. Sorry, I have saved it wrong. So I want to save this file as, again, I just want to save this file as style.css. Style.css here. So you can check here in the style.css, we will get this file. So we have index.html and index.css. So I have tag first one P, next one is normal tag I have taken, next one I have taken an inline CSS, next one is internal CSS. We can also call internal CSS as embedded CSS. And next one is a tag. Here in this tag I am trying to apply some properties. So let me write color blue. So always make sure that you will write some hexadecimal values. So see here, even I have written blue for it, I'm not getting any output. Because whenever you write external CSS, you should always mention a head tag open and head tag close. Whatever the external CSS you are trying to specify, you should always mention a head tag open and head tag close. So you need to write the file name css/style.css. css/style.css. If we can understand this line, so we call this one as external CSS. External CSS. What is the use of external CSS? For example, we have multiple pages. I want to apply the same style across all the pages. Then we can make use of this external CSS. In the sense, we can make this line to be written in the head tag open and head tag close in all the files where we want to apply. Here, link is a tag, rel is a relation, type is a like what type of text we are trying to write, href is the hypertext reference. So it is trying to point out to CSS folder followed by style.css. We call this one as external CSS. We call it as external CSS. So automatically I'm trying to get an output. Now you might get it out. So which one should I prefer? Is it inline? Is it inline? For suppose, is it inline or internal or external? Which one should I prefer? So make sure whenever you are trying to write the code using inline CSS, see here I have written only one property, so I can easily understand like hello Johnny has been applied in the color red. But if I have written multiple properties and multiple values, it will try to be confusing. Like we cannot reuse the code. For example, I have the same tag P here somewhere else in that page, in the same page. So I should able to write, for example, I have written 10 properties and 10 values here. Again I need to write the same code. So here it is not recommended because we cannot reuse the style. We cannot reuse the style. For suppose, if I am trying to use internal CSS, suppose if I am trying to apply internal CSS for this, so what happens? Here also if you can see internal CSS, it is defined within the same file in the head part using the style tag. It is easy to understand. Like we select a tag name and we write some property and value, so it will be applicable. But here also one disadvantage is that we can apply this style only in a single page, only for that particular page. We cannot use the same thing in the about us, in the contact us, in the services also. We cannot reuse it. It will be applicable for the single page, whereas it will be applicable for the single tag. So for example, can we use this? No, we cannot use this also. Like internal is also not recommended. Make sure that whenever you are trying to develop web pages, you should never prefer inline css or internal css. Inline css or internal css. Always make sure whenever you are trying to develop a project, whenever you are trying to develop an application, you should always prefer to write one css code, one style.css for your entire project. You can use external css, it is different, but whenever you are trying to code your web page, make sure that you will try to code in a single style.css file. Single style.css file for home, about us, contact us, all the pages which you are about to design. Now let us see the last one, external CSS. External CSS is used using the link tag followed by rel, the relation, and href stands for hypertext reference, which we are trying to include, style.css. So if you can understand this, inline, internal and external, the most preferred way would be the external CSS. Always make sure the external CSS file should be saved as .css, not html, .css. So this is how we have done with a basic intro to the different types of CSS. We also have iterate import also, we will try to discuss in the further sessions. But now we have inline, internal and external CSS. Inline, internal and external CSS. So let me show you the folder how it is designed. Like CSS day 1, you can see here index is saved here and CSS should be saved in CSS folder. Index should be saved outside the folder, like outside the CSS folder. So this is how we have done with the first intro file. See, as today we will try to discuss these concepts. As today we will try to discuss all these concepts. Like I want to discuss all these concepts, like selectors, colors, background, fonts, text, links, list, tables, and box model. So what I do is that I will try to create a separate file. I will try to create a separate file for each and every concept, and I will try to create each and every separate CSS also for this. Like for example, index.html I have created style.css. As for the explanation part, I have made every files ready. Like I have made everything in handy. I have just made the structure of these files. I have just saved the files automatically. Like I have created files like this. I haven't written any code. Just I have saved the files separately. Like let me use the same files here. I'm just trying to paste it here. I haven't written any snippets in this. And in style.css also, I just want to make sure I will have these files. So I just want to have this files. So let me copy this. Just I have created a files, like empty files I have just created, so that it will be easy for us to understand, like to write the code. So first one is index.html. So hope everyone is clear with the first file. Now let us have the revision with the second concept. Let us see about selector, first one. So let me close this. So next one is selector. So just I have written the HTML document, nothing more, and I have something called selector.css file here, which is saved in CSS folder. So selector.html and selector.css. Just I have made everything handy so that we can make it faster, nothing more. So in this, what is the use of selector? Selector is used to choose a particular HTML element, what we have written in the HTML body. Like whatever we have written in the HTML document, if I want to choose a particular element, we call it as a selector. We call it as a selector. These selectors are of different types. So let me write the first example. First one, we call it as universal selector. First one, let me write an example of universal selector. Universal selector is denoted using star. For example, I want to apply the properties for the entire page. For entire page, I just want to apply some properties. We can use something called universal selector. I have taken background color green. See, for example, when I'm trying to refresh it, I am not getting. So make sure whenever you are trying to write some properties in this CSS, we should always link it. We should always link it. So just use a link tag. What is the folder name? CSS / selectors selector. It is selector, not selectors. Select. Make sure the spell is right, and selector.css. So can you see here? So star indicates universal. It means it will be applicable for the complete web page. Star indicates universal. It will be applicable for the complete web page. For example, for the complete web page, you want the same font. You can include in this. Background color is a property here. Green is a value. It means it is trying to display background color for this. Now, let us have first selector is universal selector. Next one, let us understand about tag selector. Like just now we have done. I have an element here. Hello. I have written some element here. Hello Johnny. Example. I have written some element here. Hello Johnny. And I'm just trying to write a property here. I'm just trying to write a property as color white. It means it is trying to have the text color as white. It is trying to have the text color as white. We call this one as, for example, we call this one as element or tag selector. So let me write here in the comments, element or tag selector. Very first one, element or tag selector. If I write the tag name directly, then we call it as element selector. For suppose, you might get it out, sir, I have two tags, like I have two tags of p, like Johnny, I have two tags of p, like tutorials, Johnny, some example, tutorials. I have two paragraphs. In these two paragraphs, I just want to have everything is displayed in a white color, but I want this tag should have a different color. The second paragraph should have a different color. Then we can make use of ID. ID defines a single or unique. Like if I want to apply the styles for only a single element, then we can use this. The ID selector is denoted using hash. As we have discussed, universal selector in the sense star, element selector in the sense that directly the tag name, whereas ID selector in the sense I'm trying to write ABC here. I'm just trying to write ABC here. So if we can write, so what I will do is that I will just try to copy the same snippet. What I'm trying to write, ID selector here. ID selector is denoted using hash. Remember, ID selector is denoted using hash. So what is the ID name here? ABC. So the same property I'm trying to apply. ABC. So what is a property? For example, I want to apply the same property, like I just want to have some orange color here. So can you see here? So this tag has been, even though we have the both paragraphs, it has different color and it has different color because we have mentioned something called ID. Next one, we will understand about class selector. What is the use of class selector? Element in the sense directly the tag name, universal selector in the sense the complete page, ID in the sense when we have two tags, I just want to have the other tag with a different property, then we can mention an ID here. Whereas class selector, we can, for example, I have written something like this, AB and div tag close. Div class equals to AB and div tag close. If I want to apply the properties across multiple elements, I want to select a HTML element. Like I want to select an HTML element, I want to have a block of elements to be applied with the same properties. Then we can use class selector. So here I am just using the AB here, and I'm trying to write background color yellow. Example. See here, even if I write background color yellow, it will be not displayed because whenever you write some background color, some images, then you should always mention height for it. So I'm just trying to write height 100 pixel, height as 100 pixel. Then I got this. So class selector can be used for the multiple elements. Class selector can be used for the multiple elements. For example, I have something here, Laura, and I'm trying to use some paragraph here. So what happens in this for everything? Okay. So if I want to have this multiple properties, then we can use this. So then we can make use of this. like we will try to apply the properties for the individual elements also. Here this is about the class selector. This is about the class selector. Now suppose if I want to you might get a doubt, which one should we prefer? Is it ID selector or class selector? Which one has higher priority? Remember, ID selector is denoted using hash, whereas class selector is denoted using dot. ID selector has a higher priority when compared to class. See here, for example, I am trying to use the same properties. ID equals to ABC. Example, ID equals to ABC and class is equals to AB. Class is equals to AB. I'm trying to apply the same properties for a single element. For the single element, I'm trying to apply the same properties. So see here, for the I'm trying to write color, something like blue here, color blue. So when you see this, can you have the like ID equal to ABC and AB? It means for AB, we got background color yellow, height 100 pixel. But the color has, which one has a priority here? ID has a priority. When compared to class, ID has a priority. So we got the text color in the format of orange. The text color in the format of orange. For example, I have written blue here. Blue. Can you see? The text color has been changed to blue. So for example, I have written some font size. So for suppose, let me take the same property, like I have taken some property like here A and here B. Let me take the property as A and B here, and I just don't want to put any colors here. Just I'm trying to write A. I'm just trying to write A here. I'm just trying to write only one property, font size 100 pixel, and for the B, I'm trying to write font size 200 pixel. Sorry, first one is ID, right? So you should keep hash here. So if you can see, you can ask me like which property has a higher priority. If you can see here, we got hello, which means we got which property applicable, like we got a property of hash A. So let me write ID and class. So ID and class, font size 100, font size 200. So which color we got? We got the color as 100 pixel or 200 pixel. We got the font size as 100 pixel. For example, let me write 10 and 20. It will be easier for us to guess. 10. So for example, I have applied 50 here. So what happens? The 50 property will be applied. It is not applying 20. So we can assume the ID selector has higher priority when compared to class. ID has higher priority when compared to class. Next one, we have something called direct child selector and child selector. For example, see, we have a tag here. I have a tag here, div tag open and div tag close, and in this div tag I have something called a paragraph. I have some paragraph, hello. Again I'm trying to write hello here. I'm just trying to write hello here. So here we do have some elements like a paragraph followed by P and all these elements. Again I have some paragraph here. So instead of taking a paragraph, let me take H1 here, or else I have some H1. H1 indicates heading, as you know. Like let me take some H1 here, and in this again I have some H1. So for this H1, let me write the property. Let me write the property of child selector. So child or direct child selector. What is the use of this? This child selector is denoted using space. For example, I want to apply the properties only for that which has inside the div, like div and H1 combination. Then I can write div space H1 color blue. Color blue. It means it will try to apply for only that elements which has the direct child. It is denoted using space. In the sense, the div space H1. Div space H1. For suppose I have the use of this document like this. I just want to apply the properties like adjacent sibling selector. What is the meaning of this? For example, I want to apply the properties for H1 and PU itself, not the next paragraph element. Then we can write something called H1 plus P color red. It means it will be applicable only for that element. Only for that element which is adjacent to it. Adjacent to it. For example, I have taken the same text here. I have taken the same text. I have written something called H2. I have written something called h2 here. So let me see, h2 is there. I want to apply, this one is h1 plus p indicates only the first paragraph element. When I write h2 plus p and p, the two paragraphs, I want to apply all the paragraph elements after the h2. Then we have a selector called, then we do have a selector called tilt symbol. Let me take a tilt symbol here, and let me take a background color as yellow here. Then what happens? What are the tags which has with a h2 followed by p? So let me mention 2 here. So what happens? What are the elements which we have after h2? We call it as, we call this one as general sibling selector. We call this one as general sibling selector. In instance, when we have a tilt symbol here, we call this one as general sibling selector. General sibling selector. We call it a general sibling selector, and we call this one as adjacent sibling selector. Adjacent in the sense beside one. Adjacent sibling selector. I just want to adjacent sibling selector. Adjacent sibling selector. Adjacent sibling selector. So we got these two types. And the last one which is left in this selectors is that grouping selector. What is the use of grouping selector? For example, I have multiple elements. I have the same properties for all the tags. For example, let me put this in the comments. Control Shift Tab, and I'm just trying to put this in the comments. What is the use of grouping selectors? What is the use of having the grouping selectors here? See here, for example, I have the same properties for h1, h2 and h3. Then I can put something like this: h1 comma h2 comma p and color blue. It means all the elements will have the same color. All the elements will have same color. For example, h1 and h2, I want the same color. Then we can write something like this. Instead of writing h1 open curly braces color blue and h2 open curly braces color property and value, we can write the same tags beside itself, h1 comma h2. So we call this one as grouping selectors. We call it as grouping selectors. First one, we have started with the selector. First one is element selector, id selector, class selector, id and class selector. Next one, I have something called child selector. Next one, we have something called adjacent sibling selector. Next one is general sibling selector, and the last one is grouping selector. Last one is a grouping selector. So we got output in this way. This is how we have done with the first file, selectors. Now let me open the same thing. Let me open the same file. Let me take out the next concept, like CSS colors. CSS colors. I have some file here, colors. Let me open this in the browser. So I have some colors here. See here, I have P and P tag close. P and P tag close. Colors apply. Example, I'm trying to take some, or else let me write some paragraph here. Lorem. Lorem. So I have some lorem here. So how can I apply the colors for this HTML? The HTML part. So always I'm trying to take color.css here. So these are the two files which I have here. First one is colors.html and next one is colors.css. Colors.html, colors.css. I should able to link this file, right? I should able to link colors.html with color.css. So let me take out this file. Okay, done. So in order to link, always we need to prefer a link tag here, css/colors.css. So haven't written any properties, so it hasn't applied anything. So let me write some property here. The color red. It means the entire text will change into red color. We have three notations here. First one is normal naming the color notation, like we can also use, as we have discussed, HTML color picker. So just go through any of this code. We can use this one. We can use this one, and we will try to discuss it in further CSS3 part. First one is hexadecimal. We can also use the same thing. For example, I have written again the same color property here. What happens? It will just try to override. Override in the sense the last one which is there, it will be try to applicable. It will be applicable. Next one. If I want to use this RGB notation, for example, I have something like this. I just want to use some RGB notation here. Just copy this snippet. Just take this color and write color RGB and just put it out here, blue color. So these are the different notations where we can use the color. First one is RGB, next one is named color or hexadecimal value. Which one we need to prefer? Shall I prefer the color notation, the text format, or hexadecimal, or this one? Make sure that in real time we always prefer to use the hexadecimal one. You don't need to remember the color values, just use some HTML color picker online, any resource, just copy it, which you are comfortable with. But when you write with this name notation, we have limited colors. We have the limited colors. So we cannot use the exact shade of a color, particular color. So we go with this hexadecimal values. We go with this hexadecimal values. In the here first one is hash. It has six letters. Remember, always it has 6 letters. First 2 letters indicates red, next one blue, and next one is green. Here also RGB in the sense first one red, green, and blue. Red, green, and blue, and it will try to generate around 16 millions of colors for you. 16 millions of color code for you. So these are the basic colors: red, green, and blue. So this is about colors. Next one, let us go to the next concept. Next one is about backgrounds. So let me open my background CSS file, yes, and background HTML file. I have taken two files in a handy so that I can just make it out fast. First one is background.html and next one is background.css. How should I link this? Just write link tag tab css / background.css because it is in CSS folder. First one, let me read the CSS file for this. First one, first property, as you know, for example, I have something like this: background color yellow. You should use hexadecimal, but I'm not using it. You can just make use of this online color pickers. Okay, we got this one. Or else, if I want to use the last notation color code, you can just write it like RGB followed by the color code. You will get the same color code for this. This is about background color. First one is background color. We got a background color notation. Now I want to apply a background image for this. I just want to have some background image. So let me take some div. I'm just trying to take some div here. Let me write the class name as bImage. Let me take some image as bImage. For this I want to apply some image. So what I will do is that just I will try to take some image from online like tree images. So let me save this image. Let me save this image in my folder. Always make sure, as we have discussed in HTML also, just create a separate folder for these images. In this images folder, just name the file name and make sure that you will write the same extension. Now for this image I need it. So make sure that to the left hand side you will get the image here itself, new workspace. Yes, I got it. Then you should be able to write it. What is the class name we have? bImage, right? We have a class name called bImage here. bImage. For this background full colon. What is this background image, right? Background image. In HTML we write src space like this, but in CSS we have something called background minus image. So whenever you are trying to write, make sure that you will place two inverted quotes followed by images folder / tree dot what is this jpg. But remember, whenever you are trying to write a div, we will not get any output for this number because we should always mention height for that image, any div also. So let me put some height for it. Height 200 pixel. Height 200 pixel. See, I'm not getting it. So let me inspect. You can just check in the console. See here, you got some error called tree.jpg is not found, unable to load the resource. It means whenever you are trying to use in a different folder, we call this one as absolute path or relative path. We call it as a relative path. So just place some 2 dots and you will get the path for it. Place. So cancel. Image is not there. Tree.jpg. Images, we have the folder name as images, right? Sorry, I'm sorry for this. You can let me write something called h.jpg. I will show you the error. Again we have error. When you are navigating to the two different folders, just place some hash here. We got an image. So can you see some image here? We got some image. So as we have specified the limited height for it, so for suppose I have written 300 here, so then what happens, it will try to display the height of 300. I have some written 300 here, so it is trying to display the property as 300. Why did I use these three dots? We call it as a relative path, which is trying to check on a project workspace the current folder. For example, if I have it outside, it's outside the folder, then we no need to mention those two dots, the relative path for that. First one is background image. Next one is, for suppose I have some smaller image, I have some very small image, like I have something called smiley. For example, I have something small image like this. I have just some small image. I'm just trying to save it. Smile. Okay. I have just a small image. So let me write div class equals to, let me write br. Just I'm trying to write the property name. I will let you know like what is it. Just a class name br. And let me take the same thing here. Control. Sorry. It means I'm trying to take an image here. What is the image name I do have here? The image name is smile.jpg. It means it is trying to display this image. If you can see here, as the image is very small, here, it is trying to display horizontally. If you can see here, as the image is very small, then I'm trying to take, let me take very small image also. Still, if I want to take some small image, let me take a very small image. Still, if I want to take it, okay, let me take this image also. Let me take away this image. Let me save this in my workspace. Images, smile. Okay, I do have something called smile here. So the extension for this image is smile.png. So can you see here? I'm trying to get the same image repeatedly. See, whenever you are trying to use some property, it will try to repeat the image. If the image is smaller, then it will try to repeat. We call it as background repeat. For example, by default it will be try to repeat in the x-axis. If I want to repeat the same image using y-axis, then we can write repeat y. But see here, I have mentioned very small height that it is not getting. For suppose I have written height is equal to some 500. Can you see here? The image has been repeated here in this way. What is this? Background repeat. For suppose I want to make this image, I want to make some image to be fixed. So let me write some lorem here. This is small text I'm trying to write. So refresh. So I got some text. Again I'm trying to write some div here. Div class equals to, what is the property I'm trying to mention? Background attachment, right? So let me let ba. So let me put the same property here. So what is the use of ba? I have written background attachment fixed. So let me refresh this. So can you see here, whatever the image we are trying to keep, it has been fixed there itself. Even it will try to scroll the text also. Like the background image will not be scrolled. Like even see here, it will be fixed there itself. The background image will not be scrolled here. On the text will be scrolled, and the background image will constantly appears. It will try to appear constantly. What is this? Background minus attachment. As I have written height for it, the image has been repeated. For example, let me take only 100 here. So what happens? It will try to have only 100. See, the height is only 100 for this. This is about background attachment. For suppose I want to have some position for this. I just want to place some position for this image. Let me write bp It means whenever we use background attachment and like next property background position, it will be placed at the default like by default it will be placed at 0 and 0, in the sense from top and left. But when I write BP of like this, like let me write BP and a background position, let me write background position here, background position 250 pixel and 50 pixel. It means 250 pixel from the left hand side and 50 pixel from the top. So if we can see here, we got some image. What is the image we are getting? See, can you see the image here? So let me put the same BP here, let me put the same BP on the top, so that you will understand like the difference between it. So let me take, can you see here the image what we have taken is been displayed here. But the thing is that I just don't want to have this property, like I don't want to have anything, I don't want to repeat this image, I just don't want to repeat this image. Then I can write repeat none, then you will understand like where the image has been getting placed. Just I'm trying to save it. BP is there, so yes, let me refresh this. So we got a repeat none is there, sorry it is not repeat none, it is no repeat, no repeat, then the image will not be repeated. So if you can see here, the image has been moved from the 250 and the 50 pixel from the top, 250 and 50 pixel from the top. So if I can mention the same property to the bottom of the page also, it will try to show you the same. In the sense, the image will be 250 from the left and 250 from the height. So if you can see this, we are getting in this way. As we have mentioned only 100 pixel, it is trying to get in this way. Like if I mention 200, we get the full image. So this is how we are done with the backgrounds. Background will have this all the properties. First one is background color, image, repeat, attachment and position. Repeat, attachment and position. So these are the 5 properties like what we have for the backgrounds. Next one, let us discuss about fonts. Let us discuss about the fonts now. So let me open the fonts file. Fonts here. So fonts will be very easy for us to understand. Like let me take the fonts.css file here. Fonts.css file. So what is the use of fonts? Like I want to have some different font, like font family, italic, all these properties, and we can make use of it. Like I have some P here, lorem and Pirtaclose. Okay, I'm just trying to refresh it. So first property, let me apply some font family. Font family. See the text is normal now. I have written Arial in here. Can you see? It is not getting applied because we should always include this css/fonts.css. Then what happens? It will try to have these properties of Arial. So I don't remember the font families. Like we don't remember all the font families. Then what we use is that we will try to use external Google fonts. We will use external Google fonts. How can you use this external Google fonts? Just go to this Google fonts. Click here, and what are the font family you want? Like what are the font? For example, I want this type of font. Just to select this file, you will get some CSS here, like the link file. Just copy it and paste it here. Just go to Google Fonts and copy it and paste it here. But see here, you got some font family here also. The same, that one also you need to copy and paste it in this path. Just go to Google Fonts, select any of the family which you are which you want, select a style. You will get something like this. You just copy this one and paste it in your document, and just save your file. Once you have done, what you will get? You will get in this way. This is about the Google fonts. We can use Google fonts in this way, or else you can manually type, but it takes some time. Like, we can use this Google fonts directly. Fonts.css. Now I have some same paragraph. Let me put the same paragraph again. I do have some paragraph here. Let me write, and in this first one, let me write the property of font style. Let me write id for it, fs font style. So let me write hash of fs here, font style italic. So you will get the text in the format of italic way. The same text you are getting in the format of italic way. Suppose I want the same text, I just want to have the same text, and I want to appear in this in a different way. I will just want to appear the same text in a different way. So again, I'm trying to write some id here. Let me write the id as font size. So what is id? I can write here hash of fsi. So I can write font of s size something like 40 pixel, example 40 pixel. So I got the 40 pixel size here. What is this? Font size. First one, font family, font style, font size. Next property, I want to apply some font weight. I just want to apply some font weight. So I'm trying to take the same text, font weight. Let me write hash of based upon the id. Font weight bold. Font weight bold. Then automatically, what is the text you have? What is the text you have? Font weight is there. Yes. So whatever the text you have, it will try to get in the bold way. Can you see here? It is trying to get thicker in the sense thick letters when compared to the normal format. Next one, for example, if I want to have this font variant, in the sense I just want the letters. Let me write font variant. What is the meaning of font variant? Font variant will try to apply the properties. Like it will try to have all the small letters, like font variant in this small caps. It means, see here, when you refresh this page, when you have this font variant, if you can see, whatever the size we had, whatever the size font variant small caps, we got it. Sorry. If you can see here, for every letter, first letter would be a capital. For everywhere, the first letter would be a capital here. First letter, like whatever we have written, like full stop, again the first letter is capital. Again after full stop, the first letter is capital. Again, everything will be trying to display in, for example, if it is in lowercase, it will try to display in uppercase. But if it is already in uppercase, then it will try to display more, like a higher height. It will try to have more, like it will try to have the large text when compared to normal text. All the lowercase letters will be converted into uppercase, as well as the uppercase letters will appear little bit like larger when compared to the normal uppercase letters. In this sense, we can also say that the first letter would be capital in a sentence. First letter would be a capital in this sentence. Now this is about font variant. Now if I want to have text, this is about fonts, like font family, style, size, weight, and variant. These are the four ways. These are the four ways which we can write. Now let me write the example for. Let me take an example for text. Let me take an example for text. So let me take the CSS text file. Text file is there. HTML file is there. Now I just want to apply these properties for this text. So let me include this CSS here. Link CSS /text.css. So let me open this file. So now I want to apply the text properties. As you know, first one, we can apply colors for the text using, like for example, I have some h1 tag here, hello, h1 tag and h1 tag close. So h1 color red, example. Then what happens? The text color will be in the format of red. This is the first one, applying text colors. For suppose I have some paragraph like this, lorem, and paragraph closed. And here I am trying to put some paragraph here. I'm just trying to write text align center. So whatever the text I write, it will be aligned to the center. For example, if I have written something like this, text line left, the text would be from the left hand side. For example, if I see here text line left, so we got some spaces here. For example, if I have written something like this, justify, it means it will try to fit the document. So here I have taken a smaller text, so it is trying to have in this way. See here, it will try to fit the document. It will try to fit the two sides of the document. Text align, justify. Next one, for example, for the same text I have written something like this, text decoration underline. It means the text will be displayed with an underline here. For example, I have written text decoration line through. In essence, it will try to give us some strike on the text. For example, if I have written overline, we will get the properties in this way: underline, overline, and line through. For example, I have the same text. I just have the same text. Next one, I'm trying to write text transform uppercase. Uppercase in the sense it will try to have the letters in the uppercase format. Lowercase in the sense the letters will be in the form of lowercase format. So if I have something called capitalize in the sense only the first letter would be a capital and the normal would be capitalize. Only the first letter would be a capital. For every word the first letter would be a capital here. Next one, for example, if I have written something like this, text minus indent 20 pixel, it means only for the first line. Sorry, I have written spell wrong. Text indent, so only for the first line it will try to give some space. I have written 100 here. Only for the first line it will try to give us some space. Text indent. For suppose I have to give some spaces here, like word spacing we can write. Word spacing 20 pixel. Word spacing 20 pixel. It means it will try to give us the space between the words. For example, I have to give some line height here. In the sense, I have written something like 1 pixel. It will try to give us the difference between the lines. Like for example, I have written 10. I have given 20 here. You can see the distance between the lines, line height. Similarly, we also have a letter thing also. Letter spacing. Like for example, if I want to give some spaces between the letters, then we can use letter spacing. Generally, we don't prefer this, but in case if you need, you can use letter spacing. So these are the properties of text. These are the properties of text. I have taken a small paragraph and I have applied first one, text align, justify, center left, text decoration, text transform, uppercase, lowercase and capitalize, text indent, word spacing, letter spacing, and line height. Now let me take out a new file. Like I have some other file like links. I just have links. I have links here. So if I want to link this file to this, just use a link tag, link css / links.css. So let me open this file. We got links here. See, usually links in the sense we can use some tag called anchor tag. So in this also we have properties like we have some properties like link, visited, hover, and active. These are the 4 properties which has in links. First one is link, next one is visited, hover, and active. For suppose let me take an example of a href is equals to some text is there, home is there. Automatically you will get something called home like this. You will get home like this, right? But for this, by default, you will get this color. For example, I have written a full. We need to write the notation as 2 followed by 2 full colons. I have written color red. So then automatically the text whatever we have written. Sorry. Let me save this file. Okay. So we don't have any properties for this. So a full colon color red. Okay, see, once after applying it will try to get, sorry, now we can use something called text decoration none. We will get the property, wait, it is none. So for normal links we will try to get the color red. So now it is in the something like purple or like brinjal color, like we get in this way. I have written text decoration none, in the sense we won't get any text here. Next one, for the same text, for example, user has visited. If the user has clicked on the link, it should able to change other color. Then I'm trying to write color green here. Color green. Color green. For suppose if the user has hovered, just kept his mouse over it, then change the color to blue. Blue or else it will take orange here. Okay. Make sure that you will use hexadecimal color, but for this examples I'm trying to use this notations. So orange I need to want, and I want some decoration for this, like underline. It means once the user places the cursor over it, we need underline. Next one, active. Active in the sense the time between the click in and click out. Whenever the link is active, we can say, like for example, I want to give some color here as blue, and I want to have this background color for this. Background color for this as yellow. Example. So what happens? Let us see. See, now the color, like as we have already visited, I have clicked on this link, it has turned to green. Now for example, when I'm trying to place my mouse over it, I'm trying to get underline and orange. But when I'm trying, see here, when I'm trying to place my mouse over it, see, in the sense I have clicked, I'm trying to click on it, it is trying to get the color blue and the background color yellow. We call this one as active. Active in the sense when between the time, very small fraction between the click in and click out. Like I'm trying to click on this, then I'm trying to get this. So can you see here? We got all the colors. We got all the colors here. So first one, for suppose again I have taken same the link. I have taken the same link. Let me write about us here. About us here. So what happens? We got about us. So by default, once we have already visited, then it will try to change into the green color. Then we will try to change into the green color. Once the user has placed the cursor over it, it will try to change into orange. Once the user has placed the mouse, underline, and next one is active. This is about links. Links will have these four things. We can also call this one as a pseudo classes, where link, visited, hover, and active. Link, visited, hover, and active. Now next one. Let us have one more example. Next concept is about list. List is there. Yes, let me take out a new file for the list. So let me write in the same file itself, or else in the links.html I'm just trying to write ul and ul tag close, and in this li hello, again in this li hi, again in this li. Okay, example, I have these three properties here, and I just want to have something like this. When the user clicks on this, like I just want to have, not user clicks on this, like when I just want to change the format of this thing, then I can go to links. Let me go to the same file. We can use some selector called like child selector in this, like within the thing, like ul and li. So let me write, we can call like a descendant, in the sense the next one which is in this format, ul and li, list style type none, list style type none. So automatically whatever the things we got, it has been erased. For example, I want to like get circle here, then we can mention circle, like how we used to do. I just don't want to get, mostly we will use this one, list hyphen style hyphen type none. In HTML we used to write here as type equal to none, so we never used to get these dots, but in CSS we need to write in this way, ul space li list hyphen style hyphen type full colon none. So then it will automatically, you will not get these dots. So this is about list. This is about list. Next one, we do have something called links, sorry, tables. So let me take a small table here. Let me include the CSS part for this. CSS, as we know, we have discussed that tables in HTML part. We are just making it out soon. So in this, let me take the tables.css. Yes, tables.css. Is it tables? Yes, done. In this, let me take a table tag. As we know, we do have a table tag here. Open in browser. We have discussed this part in the first session itself, so I'm just trying to write it manually. Serial number, name. I just want to use only two properties as of now. Later on, we will try to apply the different properties for this. For example, I'm trying to have, let me take TD here. So we have TD's part here. First one is name, next one is Johnny here. Again, I'm trying to take the same thing, same value. Sorry. Okay, I just want to copy the same part, and 2 example I have just opened in this way. We got something like this, but here I just want to get a border. In HTML we do write border equals to 1, border equals to 1, but in CSS we can write th, or else the same type table th td. In the sense, we have multiple things, right? For all the elements we need some border. So in this border we have border, the size, the type of the thing, the border which we want to get, and the color. Border 1 pixel, solid in this is thick one, black. So we will automatically get a border in this way. For suppose if I want to get the same border, like we will try to implement more properties also. For example, I have something like this, border like this, and I want to get something called, I just don't want to have the property, like I just don't want to get the same border, like 2 lines here. Then we have some property called border collapse. We have something called border collapse here. So whenever you are trying to write in this, you can just write it here itself, border collapse. In the sense, instead of getting these 2 lines, we can get only 1 line. Can you see here border? For suppose, as we have discussed in the links also, like links in the sense, when we are trying to hover on it, we will get. Suppose when the user clicks on this tr, for example, when the user hovers on the tr, I just want to change the background color. We can write background color example. I'm just trying to do this. Can you see? We got background color yellow. So using these properties, what we have discussed, you can apply a number of properties in this. Only for the second row we want to apply color, we can write some properties like we have end style and all these things. But as of now, we will try to discuss the using only the property which we have got, like we got in this one. This is about the tables, normal tables. We can use border if I want to get, or else if I want to collapse the border into single one, we have some border collapse followed by value collapse. So this is how we have done with the basics of the CSS. And the last part would be the CSS box model. CSS box model, and this would be the prominent one which would, in order to design the layouts. So let us have the part, this part. What is this? CSS box model. How we can use CSS box model? See, for example, I have a div like this. Div class is equals to a, and I just want to close this. Okay, I just want to link the CSS first. Always remember, you should always link the CSS part first. You need to create the file in CSS folder and save. I have some div here. For this div, let me have a background color yellow. Example, let me take orange here better. So I got some error, but I don't if I have text, then I no need to write hide for it, because it will be aligned based upon the text. But if I have something like this, height is equal to, for example, I have written 300 pixel, then we call this one in this way. So this is about height, like we have taken some div, some info and some height property. CSS Box Model has first property called content, next one as padding, next one as border, and next one as margin. Margin has all the four sides: border, padding, and content. So these are the properties. Let me apply the properties individually. Like first one, let me start with border. Let me apply the border for this. Border in the sense the line what we are trying to write. Like I'm trying to write 2 pixel solid black. Example, 2 pixel solid black. Then I got in this one. In this, first let us discuss about margin. First one, if I write margin of 10 pixel, it means we will get the margin across all the sides from the top clockwise direction, top left right bottom, top left right bottom. So let me write width for this as some 500 pixel example. So whenever I write a margin 10 pixel like this, for example, let me write margin 20 pixel. It means 20 pixel from the top, left, bottom and right. Suppose I have written only something like this left, it will try to give us the properties from the left hand side. For example, I have written something like this, margin top only 100 pixel. It means it will try to give the space from the top, margin top. So if I write only the property like left and right is right and bottom, we cannot see it, so I'm trying to apply only these properties, left and right. Like this is about the values. For example, or else let me take a div inside this, or else if you have something like this, let me take something, or else if I take some div like this, div class is equals to b. Inside this again I'm trying to take some info, example. So for this b, let me write the same properties. Can you see the properties now? In the sense, I just want to remove this one. So here I have taken two divs so that you will understand. Let me write some other color for this, so you will understand what we are trying to do. Orange, right? Let me take green here. So here A is there and B is there. We have two boxes, like two divs. In this first one, background orange, color, some height, some width and border. Now for this inside div again I have taken green and all these things. For suppose I have written something like this, 40 pixel and left as 40 pixel. It means from the top 40 and left 40. For suppose I have written something like this, margin right 40 pixel. It means from all the sides it will try to give 40. So this is about the margin. Margin in the sense the space outside. For example, for the same property, I'm trying to use padding here. Padding, for example, I have written 10 pixel. It means it is all the sides from the top, left, bottom and right. Padding in the sense inside this. For example, I have written padding only left here. So let me write some bigger value, 30 pixel. So from the left itself. For example, I have written something like padding like 60 pixel. It is from the left, right? It is from the top, example. Then what happens? It will try to give us a space from the top. For example, padding I have written something called right, like 20 pixel. Then what happens? It will try to give from the right hand side. For example, padding I have written from bottom 20 pixel. So from the bottom hand side it will try to give us the values. Suppose if I don't want to put all the things in this way and I just want to put in a single line, then we can write like this, 30 pixel, 60 pixel, 20 pixel, and 20 pixel. But see here, whenever you write in this way, 30 in the sense from the top, 60 indent from the right, 20 from the bottom, and 20 from the left. So let me write 30 over here also, or else let me write the difference 10, 20, 30 and 40, so that you will understand the difference. So 10 from the top, 20 from here. For example, if I written 40 here, see, it will get equal spaces, 40 and 40, 30 from the bottom. So this is how we have done with a CSS box model. Like in this box model, we do have properties like border, padding, content, and outside the box we have margin. So this is used to give the spaces from the two divs. Like if I want to get the spaces inside, we use padding. If I want to get the spaces outside, we use margin. We use margin here. So always remember, whenever you are trying to calculate the width of it, it would be like, it will include the border, the padding, it will include the border, the padding, the left and right margin, left and right padding, left and right border. It will include left and right border, left and right margin, left and right padding. So this is how we have done with a simple thing. So let us design some simple box model properties with a layout. Then we will understand like what we are trying to do. For suppose I have the same page. In the same page, I'm just trying to take a new file here, Control N, and I'm trying to take the same file, layout, sample layout using these properties. I just want to get some header part, some body part, and some footer part. So layout CSS is there, and next new layout. Take out a new file, layout.html. Sorry, I have saved it wrong. You should always save this file inside CSS folder, not outside the CSS folder. So it is in CSS folder. You can check the path of it. So in this, let me write layout.css. Layout.css here. So first one, I just want to give create some div using this properties, like these properties. So what are the properties we have discussed so far? So I just want to create some layout with some header part, left and right, and border. So using HTML, we will try to do some snippet. First one, div class is equals to, let me write the first part as header, or else you can also take the semantic elements for this. Next one, I'm trying to take something called, so let me write first one the header part, header dot of header height 100 pixel, sorry, height 100 pixel, width 100% in the sense the complete page, and let me take background color as green. So for this, if you can see, we got green color. Now I would just want two parts here and the footer part. So next one, I can write something like this, div class equals to some container. In this container, I'm just trying to take two parts, first part and second part. So let me write div class is equals to left, div class is equals to right, div class is equals to right. First one is the left and next one is the right. So you have two parts. So if you can assume this one, I'm just trying to write as container with 100%. And in this, I just don't want to display anything. So I just want to have two parts. So let me write first one as width 50%. Here I'm just trying to use the float properties. Later on we can use flex also, but let us write with the floats as of now for this first day, and 50%. And here I just want to have some colors for it. Let me write yellow and blue, yellow and blue. So automatically, but I should also mention some height for us. So let me put, or else here will set put for the properties height 500. What did I go wrong? So we have background color height yes, layout.css. okay, let me save this file. Save as yes, it is done in the same file. Layout.css. yes, okay. Height, so it is not taking height here. Let me write height here itself individually. 500 pixel. Yes, we got it. Again, let me take some 500 pixel here. So we got blue. See, I got first one here and the left one here, but I want to display this thing to the left hand side. So we can use some property called float. We have only two properties in this: float left and float right. Float left and float right. We got in this. But whenever you are trying to use float left and float right, I want to have the last part. I just want to have the last part. Example, I just want to have the same part as a footer. I just want to have the same part as footer. But see, I'm not getting anything. We are not getting anything. So let me write the same properties here. Footer. So if I write also, you are not getting, because whenever you use floats, you should always use clear both. Then we'll get this. So this is how we have done with the basic day one of CSS. I'm just trying to have the properties what we have learned, and see it is just not responsive, just a basic thing where we are trying to create this one. So first we need to divide the pages. So I have done with the floats as of for the day one session. So if we can see here, we got the complete part. Like let us have the revision for this, like what we have discussed so far. Inline, internal or embedded, external CSS. Inline CSS is not recommended because the code we cannot reuse it. Internal CSS we cannot reuse because it will be present in only one HTML file. HTML external would be the preferred one. External would be the preferred one. These are the types of CSS. We can find inline, internal and external. Inline using style attribute, external using style tag open and style tag close, which is placed in head tag, and the internal is using style tag open, style tag close. External is using link tag, selectors, universal selector, tag selector, ID selector, class selector. ID selector has higher priority when compared to class. Child selector, adjacent sibling selector, general sibling selector, grouping selector. For example, when you have two properties and which one would be applied, always remember external will be overridden by internal, internal will be overridden by inline. So the properties would be color, linen and margin left 20 pixels. Next one, color notations: hexadecimal, RGB, color, background color, image, repeat, attachment, position, font family, font style, font size, weight, variant, font design using Google Fonts, text color, alignment, decoration, transform, indentation, word spacing, letter spacing, line height, the types of links in CSS, list, tables, the box model properties. If it is from the outside, like we call it as margin. We have four properties. First one, all the sides. Next one, left and right. Next one, left. Next one is first one is top. Next one is left and right, and third one is bottom. First one is top, left, bottom and right. Inside the box, margin top, borders, and what's new in the sense, you should always calculate the padding as well as margin as well as the border. Then you took the total width of the div. Remember, border, margin, border and padding. This is about outline. This is how we are done with the day one session. Like if you have any queries, you can just comment below this video. We will try to discuss. Thank you.